What's up, guys, and welcome to Q&A, the show where I take your questions from YouTube and answer them here in video format. Before I get started, a little programming note. I want to let you guys know to make sure you're subscribed and notified because, again, I have live draft coverage coming up. Come watch the first 2 days of the draft with me, get my live analysis, reaction, and everything in between. Come hang out, but to make sure that you don't miss it when that time comes, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ding that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Now to let you guys know about that, let's jump into these questions. And the first question is going to be from Joshua Hammerschmidt, who says, "Hey Q, seen a couple of mock drafts that have Gregory Rousseau slipping to the second round. If the Browns take a corner at 26, what do you think, or the possibility is they use a second rounder on Rousseau?" So I don't think Gregory should go in the first round, right? I don't think he's a first round prospect. A lot of the reasons why is because he doesn't have great burst and he doesn't have great first step, and he's very, very, very raw. And yes, he does have good size. He's like 6'7", 270, but you got to pair that with some polish or some traits in order for that to be useful. And I just don't see it when I watch him. Now, that makes him firmly under what you would call a project player. And yes, that's fine to take in the second round. That's where he should go. And I wouldn't be upset if the Browns took him. I just wouldn't be one who's standing on the table screaming and shouting for the Browns to make that decision. I don't think he's going to pan out. I don't think he's going to be a great pro because of the reasons I mentioned, but he wouldn't be the first guy to play much better and with better coaching and getting better size and everything in the NFL. So there is a reason to believe that Gregory can be a good NFL player. I just worry about a lot of the things I see on tape with him. He has a great production, but if you watch what happens in between that production, it's worrisome. And again, he has great size, but even that's a little bit of a question because, he's like 6'6", 6'7". Sometimes that can be a little bit too tall if you're not if you don't have great bend as a defensive end, and he doesn't have great bend, which again, it's just a laundry list of issues that I have with him as a prospect. But in the second round, sure, but I would like to know who would be on the board because he wouldn't be my first option, me personally. This next question comes from Cleveland sports fan who says, "Do you still think we'll sign JADEVEON, CLOWNEY, Melvin Ingram, or someone else in the edge rush market?" So right now, it's like the no man's land. It's a dead period, right? Teams don't want to sign veterans right now because they don't want to put themselves out of a position to draft a prospect that they like because they signed a veteran. And veterans don't want to sign with teams right now because teams have no idea if they would want to use them. Like, look at a situation like the Browns for me, right? Just if I were drafting the Browns, say I signed JADEVEON CLOWNEY to the Browns, and then at 26, the edge rusher that I like, not the Browns, I don't know what the Browns like, but I like, Jalen Phillips, slips to you at 26. And you take him because that's the best player available and that's the best edge rusher in this draft, in your opinion, or at least in my opinion, right? Now you have this weird situation where JADEVEON's not going to be happy because Jalen Phillips is going to take the spot that he was supposed to take. And now both parties really don't know what to do with that player. So that's why nobody's being signed right now. That being said, as far as are the Browns still interested in JADEVEON? Yeah, they're keeping a close eye on this. I have the feeling that Andrew Berry has his eye on a handful of pass rushers that he likes in this draft that he thinks can step in and be a day one starter in his mind. I think he has a strong opinion about this edge rush class, but if you look at the level of urgency that he's attacked things in free agency, he's went to corners first, so he doesn't believe as much in the DBs. Maybe he thinks there's more depth in the edge rushing class than a lot of people think. And if that's the case, if he gets somebody he wants at 26, then no, they won't sign JADEVEON CLOWNEY or anybody else. But if they don't get somebody and they have to go with like a corner or somebody else at 26 or trade out of the first round, I would fully expect them to bring in a JADEVEON CLOWNEY, because right now they're one established edge rusher away from having a good rotation. So that's what they need right now, and that's the situation. So yeah, I would think that they're still interested in JADEVEON CLOWNEY. They're just, the timing's not right. This question comes from the Ultimate Sports TV, who says, do you like Greg Newsome as an option at corner in the draft? I like his skill set, what he could bring to load up the secondary. Yeah, definitely. They're going to bring in somebody to challenge Greedy for that other cornerback spot. And Greg Newsome would be a great addition, right? If he pans out to be as good as some of the tape says he's going to be, then he would be somebody who gives you flexibility in a couple of years when Denzel Ward's up for his contract, right? Whether you want to go long-term with him, given his injury history, he would be somebody who gives you that flexibility while also somebody who can anchor down and play corner for you for a long time. So I would absolutely be for that. That would be a great decision. And I would be applauding the Browns if they did that. I think he's a good player. The next question is from Wesley Johnson, who says, would you rather the Browns use their extra picks to trade up higher in the draft and get a better player, or draft players in the later rounds, right? So the Browns have this situation. I think the next couple of questions are going to hit on this, where they got like, what? I think 9 picks in this draft. Correct me if I'm wrong. And not likely they're going to have 9 spots to make the team. Now, that's not super weird, right? Because most teams, they don't have 9 spots for somebody to make the team. Now, the Browns back in the day, they talk about 2015 all the way up to like 2018. They definitely had all these spots for young players to be on here. But now you're looking at a team that 5 or 6 rookies are going to make this team more than likely, right? And that becomes an issue when you have 9 draft picks, because it means you're going to be cutting somebody who might be important, right? I know a lot of people like Curtis Weaver. Well, how Curtis Weaver ended up on the Browns is that they just ran out of space in Miami to stash him, right? So you don't want to be in that situation where you draft a prospect, you're excited about him, but you can't stash him. So to avoid that, what the Browns have to do is either trade those picks and try to flip them into picks next year, which is very possible, or instead of making, 9 picks in the entire draft, trade up some of those extra 4th and 5th round picks to try to get back into the 3rd and 2nd round. And instead of taking 9 players throughout the draft, maybe you take 4 or 5 players within the first 3 rounds that you know are going to make the team, that you know you have a plan for. That's what I would anticipate. Let's jump into this next question, though, and it is from Marino V, who says, how's life going? My question is about the picks. How do you see the Browns giving away and moving up in the draft, since we don't have 9 roster spots? Thank you. Now, in the first round, I don't know how much ammunition they have to move around a lot in the first round. Like, I think once you get past like pick 15 to 18, then the Browns have some ammunition that they can use to move up if they want to be aggressive about it. But a lot of the ammunition they're going to have is about moving up in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th rounds. And I think that's what they're going to do with both of their selections in 2nd, 3rd, and the 4th round. So I think that's how they're going to use those extra picks to kind of maneuver in those middle rounds to make sure they can get players that are within, the top 150 of their board. Next question comes from Omar, who says, Quincy, what is my thoughts on the cornerback 2 situation? Nobody's talking about it as an issue with Denzel Ward and Troy Hill. Troy Hill's a good slot, but the only other viable cornerback on the roster is Greedy, who isn't always healthy. So yeah, cornerback 2 is a question mark, but it's not a bigger question mark than like the other edge position. So I get why there's not been a ton of conversation about it, because quite frankly, they have a ton of options right there at the 2nd cornerback option, because at least they have somebody on the roster you can believe can fill that role in Greedy Williams. The edge rush right now, it's like Tack McKinley and then nobody else. So that's why I think people have talked about it more. Also, they have more options, right? They can sign Richard Sherman after the draft. They can draft somebody in like any of the like 1st, 2nd, 3rd round. I think you could find a 2nd corner in the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd round of this draft. you have a lot of options if you're Andrew Berry. So that's why I don't think there's been a ton of conversation there. And yeah, it is an issue, but it's an issue that even if you do nothing, you have a decent solution for in Greedy Williams. I get he hasn't been healthy, but you did invest a second round pick in him. It would be worthwhile to see if he can, shake the injury bug that's been plaguing him early in his career. Next question comes from Abu, who says, what if Odell comes back to the offense and takes a step back from where it was at the end of last season? Do you think that the theory of the Browns being better without Odell is correct? No, I don't believe that theory is correct for a number of reasons. And I've gotten into this in like many other videos. So if I look exhausted when I'm answering this, it's because it's something that comes up a lot, which is why I answer it whenever I see it comes up. And I think it's important to fight against it because I just don't get why this narrative is as big as a thing as some people want to make it to be at this point. And I don't blame the people asking the questions. It's just I don't know why people keep pushing this. Odell, let's not forget, had a 3-touchdown game against the Dallas Cowboys and was absolutely crucial in the Browns winning that game, right? If the Browns don't win that game against the Cowboys, they don't make the playoffs. So to act like Odell didn't play a role in that season is kind of asinine. Also, yes, the Browns got better later in the season. It just so happened to be Odell wasn't out there, but they had a first-year head coach. They had a new offense. Everybody expected this team to be much better in week 16 than they were in week 6. So why, when that happens, that is a surprise? I don't understand. This theory, right, that Odell is the reason the Browns weren't good, the offense wasn't good, is one, false, because the offense was good when Odell was out there. Like, let's not forget, they were putting up 30 points a game in the first half of the season with no training camp. And two, it's based off of this, weird assumption that it wasn't time in a new offense. It was this Odell factor, right? And look, Occam's razor is right for a lot of things, right? The simplest answer sometimes just is the right answer. And what's more simple of an answer than the Browns offense got better because they got more time to get used to that offense as time went on? Or is it simpler that Odell being out changed things with Baker Mayfield and how he saw the field and it really affected things, and it's really what put this offense together, that the most explosive skill player on the team not being out there made the team better? I just tend to go with the simple answer being the solution, right? I'm not going to go 4D chest on you. No, I don't believe that Odell not being out there. And here's the good news, Browns fans. If Odell being out there is really an issue, it's not a big deal. The Browns can trade him before the trade deadline. So there are so many solutions. This is not really a real issue, but that's just my thoughts on the questions that you guys sent in. Again, I'm so thankful for that. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day. Have a good night.